Hey everyone, this week we are crossing the Queensboro Bridge and traveling to Upper Manhattan. There is so much I would like to show you, and in fact I just recorded 2 other locations, so in the coming weeks there will be something for everyone. World War II airplanes, sports, music, a historic resort. In fact, there are so many ideas racing through my chaotic mind that I might even post more than 1 video a week at some points, but for today, here's the plan. We will begin at Marcus Garvey Park and then walk 125th Street in Harlem all the way to the Hudson River, and then take a left turn and walk along or in the Riverside Park down to 100th Street, completing my storytelling as you will see at the end of the video. The reason why I want to begin in Marcus Garvey Park is because on its highest point, you have the Mount Morris Fire Watchtower. In my video last week when we traveled to Setauket, Long Island, I mentioned how dangerous fires were to communities. Well, here is an example of New York City trying to tackle that problem. In the early to mid 1800s, to fight fires here in the city, they posted around-the-clock watchmen at strategic locations who used different ways to communicate with others like bells or lanterns to point to where the fires were breaking out. The city eventually built a system of 11 cast iron towers you see here. This is the only one that survived. Up there, you see the 5,000-pound bell that would be rung to alert of the fires. Although that bell is not the original one, but still, it is from 1865. By 1870s, the system began to be outdated as New York City created an official fire department and not just volunteers, and began installing alarms on street corners instead of these watchtowers. We still have these alarms on New York City streets as you see here. And they do work, although the fire department always has a big issue of false alarms as people pull them without any emergencies, which is a big problem because not only resources are wasted in responding, but also think about a situation where there is a real emergency. Someone's life is in danger, but fire trucks are responding to an alarm someone pulled as a prank, let's say. This tower was actually completely taken down by 2015 and placed in storage as it really became a hazard. Pieces were beginning to fall off due to years of being neglected. However, as you see, it was completely restored and put back in 2019, and now serves as a reminder of the evolution of firefighting in the city. In general, it's a very nice park. There is a pool area and even an amphitheater for events. But when I got up to that watchtower itself, I felt a different vibe. And I think it's because the spot is rather isolated from what felt like civilization itself. And your movement is quite limited as there's maybe 3 or 4 different staircases going up, and that is it. You are pretty much cornered beyond that. So it's an uncomfortable feeling. I have not walked these streets in a while, and I see things are changing. Mainstream stores are moving in, restaurants. The area is far more diverse in terms of population from what I remember. But in all of this change, there is one location that stands the test of time: the Apollo Theater. It originally opened in 1914 only for white audience, as was the case with most venues, and those that did allow black audience, they had to usually sit in the back in segregated sections. However, at the same time, there was a flow of black families from the southern part of America in what is referred to as the Great Migration, many of whom settled in Harlem, sparking the Harlem Renaissance, which was an explosion of black poetry, music, theater, art, you name it. The Apollo Theater by then transferred ownership, and in 1934, it opened under a new name, the Apollo Theater. Apollo named after the Greek god of music. and allowed for black arts and music to flourish within its walls all the way till modern day, with performers I am sure all of you would know, like James Brown or Steve Harvey. So tremendous history behind these walls. Near the theater, there used to be the Rosa Parks campus of the College of New Rochelle, and I taught sociology and history here for 2 years as an adjunct lecturer. So right now, it's hard for me to believe that I began teaching on a college level in my mid-20s, even before finishing my doctorate degree. I still remember that I intentionally grew a beard, wore a tie, a jacket, always trying to pretend that I was older than I really was. Wow, time does go quickly. Now I don't really need to pretend. As we continue walking up 125th Street, we pass one of the original subway stations in New York City, which opened in 1904, so 120 years old now. And right behind it, we have the Cotton Club. The original Cotton Club was located on 142nd Street and Lenox Avenue, or what today is also known as Malcolm X Boulevard. The club operated from 1923 until 1940, and it was a go-to place for many white patrons to hear and see black entertainers, especially enjoying listening to and dancing to jazz music of people like Duke Ellington or Cab Calloway. Not only that, you have to remember that this was the Prohibition era, which lasted from 1920 until 1933, in where the sale of alcohol was banned. And throughout New York City, as many major cities, places opened called speakeasies, where alcohol was still sold illegally, and Cotton Club was one of those places. So you have a spot where people of different races mixed together in an era of segregation, drank illegal alcohol, and danced till the morning hours. Add to this a booming and strong stock market, and you will slowly begin to understand why America in the 1920s has the nickname of the Roaring Twenties. That is, until the Great Depression of 1929, which changed everything. In 1935, Harlem was shaken by race riots, and the club closed and reopened afterwards in Times Square, so in Midtown Manhattan. However, it never regained its popularity and the excitement of being in Harlem, and just after 4 years closed in 1940. Since then, numerous other clubs have opened under the name of Cotton Club, and one of them is here, which opened in the 1970s, and is the legacy and continuation, really, of the original Cotton Club, with jazz and swing music moving the dance floor. And here we reach the Hudson River, where we will begin heading down to the Riverside Park, but before we do so, check out this vessel, the Baylander. Built in 1968, it served in the war in Vietnam, and today it is decommissioned, retired, and serves as a restaurant, so you can grab something to eat here. And let's try to blend in with our New York City pigeons. So now let's walk to about 122nd Street, where we have Grant's tomb. This is the back of the building. I love the mosaic benches around the building. I believe they were created in the 1970s, if I'm not mistaken. And here is the front. So this is the largest mausoleum in the United States. It is the final resting place of Ulysses S. Grant and his wife Julia. Grant was the commanding general who led the North, the Union troops, into victory against the South, the Confederate States, in the American Civil War. Afterwards, he became the 18th President of the United States, from 1869 until 1877, and then he passed away 8 years later due to throat cancer. These eagle statues that you see in front were added later on, as they were originally part of the New York City Post Office building, which was located by the City Hall. The building itself was demolished in the 1930s and the statues were transferred here. You see, it's a very popular location with New York City tourists, but many of them probably don't even know that you can actually go inside. So let me show you around. Downstairs you see the coffins, Ulysses on the left, Julia on the right, his wife. But as you see, not only is the outside building beautiful, but the inside as well. On top you have paintings depicting various moments from Ulysses' life and a gorgeous dome on top. But the attention to detail is really unbelievable. There are small rooms with Civil War flags representing various regiments, like the 5th New York Heavy Artillery Regiment, for example. And this is the other room on the other side. You can walk downstairs and see everything from up close. The neighborhood outside of the tomb has really beautiful places of worship. For example, right next to the tomb you have the Riverside Church, which opened in 1930. A marvelous structure, which in this video I want to point out that it's there, but certainly in the future, if there is interest and you, the viewers, would like me to continue making these videos, I'll be taking you more on trips which explore not just the outside, but also the inside of certain places. And so a church like this would certainly require a more in-depth video and history. Walking along the Riverside Park, not only can you enjoy some peace and relax from the busy city life, but there's also many interesting things to check out along the way, so let me point out just few of them. At 116th Street, there is a marble drinking fountain dedicated in 1910 to the Women's Health Protective Association of New York City, which focused on public health issues such as garbage disposal in the city, street cleaning, sewage system, and even school hygiene. Some of you might think that New York City streets stink and are dirty today. It was much worse back in the days, and finally somebody was slowly trying to fix the problems. 10 streets away at 106th Street, I had to take a small detour, as one street away from the park, on Broadway Street, is another very small park where we have the Isadore and Ida Strauss monument, who died on the Titanic. Isadore Strauss was a co-owner, along with his brother, of Macy's department store. When Titanic was sinking, his wife Ida had the opportunity to get into a lifeboat as women and children were being evacuated. However, she refused to go without her husband, and so they both stayed together and perished on that cold morning of April 15, 1912. On the monument it says, quote, "Lovely and pleasant were they in their lives, and in their death they were not divided." Oh, come on. I don't care how tough you are. This is an emotional story. In the movie Titanic from 1997, I believe there is a scene towards the end as Titanic is sinking. There is an older couple snuggling together on bed. That is the scene based on this couple right here. So now if you watch or rewatch the movie, you know. And finally, 100th Street. We have the Firemen's Memorial, dedicated in 1913 to the firefighters who have lost their lives in the line of duty. On one side, you have a wife holding a dead body of her husband, and from the other, holding her child, while her other hand is on the firefighter's helmet. Hence, she is a widow, now holding on to the memory of her husband. I mean, it's one of those things that many people pass by probably every day and do not really stop and think about it. But if you do and you really stare at it for a few minutes, it hits you. It's pretty emotional. So here's where I can complete my video by tying in this monument of the fallen firefighters that served this city as far back as the watchtower you saw in the beginning of the video. Even though technology changed and methods of fighting fires, nevertheless the job remains a difficult one, and those serving this city many times need to put their lives on the line to save others. Now, it's also a good point to stop at because this is really the halfway point of the Riverside Park. And there is so much more to show you and talk about in terms of this park. So if you would like me to continue on and explore this park up to 72nd Street, let me know, leave comments, send emails, and if there's a lot of interest in it, then I will try to do so in the next few days. If not, it is something I will still do at some point in the future. Like always, I hope you enjoyed this week's video, and I will see you soon in a place I think many of you will enjoy learning about. Till then, stay safe out there.